The city plunged into darkness like a heart stopping mid-beat, and in that suffocating void, his hand found mine first, strong, unyielding, pulling me from the edge of the subway platform where panic had me teetering. "I've got you," he whispered, his voice cutting through the screams like a lifeline, his breath warm against my ear as he shielded me from the stampede. By the time the lights flickered back on hours later, he was gone, leaving only the ghost of his touch and a name I couldn't quite catch amid the chaos. Alex. I replayed that night in my head for months, the way his grip had anchored me when everything else unraveled. New York had always been a beast, relentless, indifferent, but that blackout turned it feral, stripping away the illusions of control we all clung to. Elevators froze mid-floor, trapping strangers in confessions they never meant to share. Traffic lights died, birthing a symphony of horns and curses that echoed off skyscrapers like war cries. I was just another face in the crowd, a 28-year-old graphic designer named Jordan Hale, hustling home from a freelance gig in Midtown, my backpack heavy with sketches and unmet deadlines. The subway had been my escape, but that evening, it became my near grave. As the train lurched to a halt between stations, the lights buzzed out, plunging us into ink-black silence broken only by the collective gasp of 50 souls. Phones died one by one, their batteries no match for the overload. Whispers turned to shouts, and then the real fear set in, clawing hands, shoving bodies, the primal urge to flee trapping us all. I stumbled in the dark, my foot catching on a strap, and suddenly I was falling, the platform's edge rushing up like a promise of oblivion. That's when he appeared, a shadow among shadows, his fingers wrapping around my wrist with a certainty that defied the madness. He yanked me back, his body a barrier against the surge, and for those endless minutes, we huddled together, his arm around my shoulders, his heartbeat syncing with mine in the pitch. When emergency lights finally hummed to life, bathing the car in sterile yellow, he was already slipping away. "Stay safe, Jordan," he said, flashing a grin that lit his green eyes like emeralds in the gloom. He knew my name, from my badge, my muttered phone call earlier, who knows, but I never got his. Just Alex, pieced together from a fragment of conversation with another passenger. He melted into the exodus, and I was left clutching the railing, my pulse racing not just from the scare, but from the inexplicable pull of that brief connection. It felt like fate's cruel joke. Rescue me, then vanish. Life clawed back to normalcy in the days that followed. The blackout made headlines. Power grid failure, they said, exacerbated by a storm that never quite hit. But for me, it lingered like a bruise. I threw myself into work, designing logos for boutique coffee shops in Brooklyn, avoiding the subway when I could. My apartment in Williamsburg became a fortress of takeout containers and late-night sketches, the walls plastered with mood boards that screamed for color but delivered only grayscale doubt. Friends noticed my distance. My best friend, Mia, a fiery lesbian activist with a laugh that could shatter glass, dragged me to brunches where I'd nod along to stories of hookups and heartbreaks, all while scanning crowds for a glimpse of those green eyes. "You're ghosting your own life, Jordy," Mia teased one Sunday at a cafe in the East Village, her rainbow bracelet clinking against her coffee mug. She was the anchor I'd needed since college, back when I came out to our tight-knit group at NYU. Her with unwavering support, our mutual friend Theo, a non-binary artist with a penchant for dramatic monologues, offering hugs that smelled like patchouli and paint thinner. Theo had their own battles with family prejudices, their parents in Ohio still sending passive-aggressive emails about finding the right partner. We were a mismatched family, bound by shared scars and stolen moments of joy. But even their warmth couldn't fill the void Alex left. I dated sporadically. A cute barista named Liam who sketched poetry on napkins, a lawyer named Chris whose intensity matched my own, but they all faded against that phantom touch. Until 6 months later, when the universe, ever the sadist, decided to rewrite the script. It was a humid July evening, the kind where the air sticks to your skin like regret. I was at a gallery opening in Chelsea, Theo's latest exhibit on queer invisibility, drawing a crowd of hipsters and critics in equal measure. The space buzzed with clinking glasses and murmured appreciations, string lights casting a golden haze over abstract canvases that bled colors like unspoken desires. I lingered by a piece titled Eclipse, a swirl of blacks and golds evoking that fateful night, sipping cheap Chardonnay and pretending not to feel the ache. That's when I saw him, across the room, leaning against a beam with effortless poise, his dark hair tousled just so, those green eyes scanning the crowd until they locked on mine. Alex. My breath hitched, the glass nearly slipping from my fingers. He straightened, a slow smile spreading like dawn, and wove through the throng with the grace of someone who knew exactly where he belonged. Jordan, he said, voice low and familiar, as if we'd parted ways yesterday instead of half a year ago. Fancy meeting you here. My mind reeled, questions piling like debris. Who was he? Why now? But all I managed was a stunned, You're the guy from the subway. He laughed, a sound that warmed the space between us, and extended a hand, not to shake, but to brush my arm lightly, reigniting that spark. Guilty. Alex Rivera. And yeah, I vanished like a bad plot twist. Sorry about that. We talked, or rather, he talked, and I floated in the wake of his words. He was a photographer, freelance for magazines that sent him chasing stories from the Pacific Northwest to the Florida Keys. The Blackout. He'd been in town for a shoot on urban resilience, irony not lost on him. I looked for you after, he admitted, eyes softening. Saw your name on that badge, but the crowd swallowed you up. Figured you'd think I was some subway knight errant and move on. I didn't tell him how I'd scoured social media, pieced together fragments of his name from news clips about the Blackout heroes. Instead, we drifted to the rooftop terrace, the city sprawling below like a glittering confession. He asked about my art, really listened as I rambled about designs that captured fleeting emotions. For the first time since that night, I felt seen, not as the guy who almost fell, but as Jordan, whole and wanting. By the end of the night, he'd slipped his number into my pocket with a wink. No vanishing this time. Dinner tomorrow, I nodded, heart hammering, as he melted into the dispersing crowd again, but not before a hug that lingered, his chin resting on my shoulder, scent of cedar and city air wrapping around me. The next weeks blurred into a montage of stolen moments. Dinners at hole-in-the-wall bistros in Little Italy, where we'd argue over the merits of indie films versus blockbusters, his laugh drawing stares. Walks along the High Line, his hand brushing mine until it stayed, fingers interlacing like they'd always known the way. Alex was a whirlwind, passionate, guarded, with stories that hinted at depths he kept submerged. A childhood in Seattle, raised by a single mom who waitress doubles. A coming out at 16 that shattered his conservative extended family, leaving him to forge his lens on the world through a camera's unblinking eye. He fit into my life like he'd been there all along, crashing game nights with Mia and Theo, charming them with tales of photographing pride parades in San Francisco. Mia cornered me after one such evening, her eyes gleaming over margaritas at our favorite dive bar. He's got that spark, Jordy. But watch yourself. He's got walls higher than the Empire State. Theo, ever the poet, added, love's an eclipse, babe. Beautiful, but it leaves you blind if you're not careful. I waved them off, drunk on the newness. But cracks appeared subtly, like fault lines in glass. Alex dodged questions about his family, changing the subject with a kiss or a quip. Late-night calls where his voice grew distant, excuses about deadlines piling up. And then, the first misunderstanding. A text from an ex, harmless catch-up, but I saw it pop up during dinner. Ethan, with a heart emoji that twisted my gut. Old college buddy, Alex explained, but his eyes flickered and doubt seeded. It bloomed at a party in Soho, thrown by Theo's gallery contact, a sprawling loft pulsing with bass and bodies. We arrived hand in hand, the easy rhythm of us on display. But midway through, I lost him in the crowd, emerging later with a flushed face and a drink in hand, laughing with a group that included a stunning guy, tall, blonde, too close. Jealousy flared, irrational and hot. When I pulled him aside, words tumbled out sharper than intended. Who's that? Another ghost from your past. His face hardened, green eyes storming. Rory? He's a colleague, Jordan. Not everything's a conspiracy. The argument escalated in whispers, accusations flying, my insecurity clashing with his evasion. You vanished once. How do I know you won't again? I hissed. He recoiled as if slapped. Maybe because I'm here, fighting for this. But if you can't trust me." He trailed off, storming to the balcony, leaving me adrift in the throng. We patched it with apologies over coffee the next morning, his hand covering mine across the table. "I'm all in," he promised, and I believed him, because what else was there? But the tension simmered, fed by our histories. Mine, a father who equated my queerness with failure, cutting ties after college graduation, leaving me to build walls of wit and workaholism. Alex's, whispers of a brother who disowned him, a mother who loved but couldn't protect. We were mirrors, reflecting each other's fears. Fall deepened, leaves carpeting Central Park in crimson confessions. Our bond tightened, but so did the stakes. Mia confided over wine one night, her voice laced with worry. "Theo heard something. Alex's ex, that Ethan? Not so harmless. Drama from Seattle, bad breakup." I laughed it off, but sleep evaded me, dreams tangled with subways and shadows. The real unraveling came on a crisp November evening, rain slicking the streets as we hurried to a queer film screening in Tribeca. Inside the dim theater, his phone buzzed incessantly. Ignored at first, then silenced with a curse. "Work," he muttered, but his jaw clenched. Halfway through the feature, a tale of forbidden love in the 80s, he slipped out. I followed minutes later, finding him in the alley, voice raised in a hushed argument. "I can't keep doing this, Mom. Tell him to back off." He hung up, spotting me, face crumpling. "Jordan, it's not," but the damage bloomed. Who was he hiding? The next day, silence stretched between us, texts unanswered until a knock echoed through my apartment at dusk. He stood there, soaked from the downpour, eyes red-rimmed. "My brother's in town. He found out about us, about me being back here, happy. He's not okay with it." The words hung heavy, unveiling the prejudice I'd sensed but never named. Alex's family, devout and distant, had long viewed his sexuality as a phase to pray away. His brother, Mark, the golden child, now weaponizing that old wound. We talked until dawn, his head in my lap on the couch, stories spilling like rain. The coming out that fractured them. The years of radio silence punctuated by guilt-laced holidays. "I vanished after the blackout because I was scared," he confessed. "Of feeling this much, too soon. But you make me want to stay." Resolution felt close, fragile as frost. We met Mark the next week at a neutral diner in Hell's Kitchen, Alex's hand trembling in mine under the table. Mark was polished, Wall Street sharp, his smile not reaching eyes that appraised us like liabilities. "Family's family, Alex. This life's not for you. Or us." The words landed like blows, prejudices unearthed from soil we'd thought tilled. I saw Alex fracture then, the weight of rejection cracking his resolve. But as Mark left with a curt nod, Alex turned to me, fierce. "He's wrong. This, us, is my choice." We walked out into the chill, arms linked, the city our witness. Yet surprises lurked. Weeks later, at Mia's holiday party, a potluck of queer chosen family in her Bushwick brownstone, Ethan appeared. Not as a ghost, but flesh and blood, invited by Theo's network, oblivious to the history. Awkward hellos turned tense when old flames ignited. Ethan, charming and unapologetic, cornering Alex with memories laced in regret. "We were good once," he murmured, too loud for my ears alone. The explosion was inevitable. In the kitchen, away from twinkling lights and eggnog toasts, I confronted him. "Is this why you dodge? Because part of you's still there?" Alex's face twisted in pain. "Ethan's past. Messy, yes, but closed. You're mine now, Jordan. Why can't you see that?" Hurt fueled fury. "Because you act like he never existed. Like your family's hate, like all of it." Voices rose, drawing stares. Mia intervened, herding us to the fire escape, where cold air slapped sense into us. Tears came then, raw and unfiltered, his for the boy he'd been, mine for the man I feared losing. Theo joined, their voice a balm. "Prejudices aren't chains unless we let them be. We've all got internal, external. But love? That's the fight worth the bruises." We reconciled there, under stars peeking through cloud cover, promises forged in vulnerability. Climax crested on New Year's Eve, the city a frenzy of lights and resolutions. Alex proposed, not rings, but a trip, Seattle, to face it all. With you. I agreed, heart swelling. But en route, a call shattered the calm. His mother, hospitalized after a fall, Mark blaming the stress on Alex's lifestyle. We detoured, landing in a sterile Seattle ward where forgiveness waited like a storm's eye. His mom, frail but fierce, gripped his hand. I was wrong, Mijo. Love whoever lights your soul. Mark lingered in the hall, apology unspoken, but eyes softened. Back in New York, spring unfurled, our bond tempered like steel. Misunderstandings mended into deeper trust, prejudices confronted, not conquered overnight, but chipped away. Alex's lens captured us now, portraits of quiet intimacies, hands entwined in parks, laughs echoing in lofts. One evening, atop that same rooftop where we'd reconnected, he pulled me close. You saved me too, you know? From vanishing into myself. The city hummed below, alive with possibility. In his arms, I knew. He'd always belonged beside me. And I beside him. As winter thawed into the tentative greens of early spring, our rhythms settled into something profound, a dance of rediscovery amid the ceaseless churn of Manhattan. Alex's photography gigs pulled him across boroughs, capturing the raw pulse of queer nightlife for zines that celebrated the marginalized, while I buried myself in a new project, branding for a youth center in Harlem, a beacon for LGBTQ+ teens navigating the minefield of identity. It felt serendipitous, our worlds converging on empathy's edge, but beneath the harmony lurked the undercurrents of our pasts, ready to swell. Mia's warnings echoed faintly, dismissed as overprotectiveness, until a chance encounter at a coffee shop in Flatiron revived them. I was sketching concepts, vibrant icons symbolizing resilience, when she burst in, breathless from a run, her curls wild and eyes wide. Jordy, we need to talk. About Alex. Theo trailed behind, carrying lattes like peace offerings, their expression a mask of reluctant gravity. We claimed a corner booth, the steam from our drinks curling like unspoken fears. Mia leaned in, voice low. I ran into Rory, the guy from the party. He mentioned Ethan. Not just an ex, but complicated. Alex left Seattle in a hurry after their breakup. Something about threats, family involvement. Theo nodded, stirring sugar absently. Rory's not gossiping, he's worried. Said Alex has a habit of running toward light, then bolting when shadows catch up. My stomach nodded, the hook from that blackout night twisting anew. He's different now. I countered, but doubt crept in, cold as the draft from the door. They didn't push, just enveloped me in a hug that smelled of vanilla and vinyl records, Theo whispering. We're Team Jordan, always. But truth's the only way through. That night, Alex arrived at my place with takeout from our favorite Thai spot, his smile disarming as ever. We ate cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by Polaroids he'd snapped of us, candid shots that captured joy in its unguarded form. But the words stuck in my throat until dessert, when I set down my fork. Tell me about Ethan. Really? His fork paused midair, green eyes flickering like a shutter click. The silence stretched, heavy with the weight of omissions. Finally, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. Ethan was my first real love. College, Seattle. Intense, all-consuming. But he had demons, addiction, anger. It turned toxic fast. Fights that left bruises, words that scarred deeper. He met my gaze, vulnerable. I ended it, but Mark, my brother, got involved. Blamed me, said I chose that chaos. That's when I left for New York, chasing shoots to outrun it all. The confession landed soft, no detonation, but ripples spread. I reached for his hand, tracing the calluses from his camera. Why hide it? I thought we were past ghosts. He squeezed back, thumb brushing my knuckles. Because bearing it feels like inviting it back. But with you, I want transparency. No more vanishing acts. We made love to words that night. Not bodies, but souls. Unpacking layers until dawn painted the skyline pink. It bonded us tighter, but fragility lingered, a reminder that trust is rebuilt brick by aching brick. Spring bloomed fully then, our circle expanding in unexpected ways. Theo's exhibit toured to Boston, and we road-tripped up, Alex behind the wheel of a rented convertible, wind whipping stories from us like confetti. Mia joined midway, turning the journey into a caravan of chaos, stopping at dive bars where we'd belt karaoke anthems, her voice cracking on show tunes while Theo vogued dramatically. Laughter healed old fissures, but prejudice's shadow loomed large during a layover in a small Connecticut town. The diner was unassuming, fluorescent lights buzzing over checkered floors, but the stares started subtle. A waitress's lingering glance at our linked hands, a table of locals murmuring behind menus. Alex tensed, ordering with clipped politeness, but I felt the old armor click into place. As we left, a man at the counter spat, "Keep it moving, freaks," the slur slicing clean. In the parking lot, fury boiled. Alex punched the car door, denting it faintly, breath ragged. "Everywhere, Jordan. Like no matter how far I run." I pulled him close, rain starting to patter, our embrace a defiance. "Then we face it together. Not run." Mia, arriving just then, overheard, her activist fire igniting. "Call it out. Document it." Theo filmed discreetly, later posting to their socials, a quiet act of resistance that garnered support, but also trolls spewing vitriol. Back in the city, the incident festered. Alex withdrew slightly, Shoots turning solitary, his laughter rarer. I confronted the drift over a picnic in Prospect Park, blankets spread under cherry blossoms shedding petals like tears. "Talk to me. Is it the diner? Or us?" He plucked a blade of grass, twisting it. "It's everything. Feeling like I'm dragging you into my mess. Family, exes, the world's bullshit. You deserve steady, not this storm." Heart aching, I cupped his face. "Steady sporing. I want your storm, Alex. All of it." The vulnerability cracked him open again, leading to a decision. Therapy, joint sessions at a queer-affirming center in the village. Our counselor, Lena, a no-nonsense dyke with tattoos mapping her own battles, guided us through the mire. "Prejudices aren't just external," she said one afternoon, sunlight slanting through blinds. "They whisper inside, too. Name them to tame them." Sessions unearthed gems. My fear of abandonment rooted in my dad's rejection, Alex's evasion tied to Ethan's gaslighting. Progress was messy, arguments flaring over forgotten anniversaries, silences stretching after tough days, but growth followed, tender shoots in cracked soil. Summer scorched in, waves of heat shimmering off pavements. We escaped to Fire Island for a weekend getaway, Mia and Theo in tow, a flotilla of friends renting a beach house with creaky floors and ocean views. Days blurred into sun-soaked idols. Volleyball on sands that burned feet, bonfires where stories swirled with smoke, skinny dipping under moonlit waves that washed away worries. But paradise held pitfalls. Ethan texted Alex midweek, "An innocuous, saw you're working out, proud of you," but it unearthed old tremors. Alex showed me immediately, no secrets, but doubt nipped. That night, as waves crashed, we walked the shore, barefoot and bare-hearted. "He doesn't get to haunt us," I said, lacing fingers with his. "We're the story now." Theo, sensing the undercurrent, organized a truth circle around the fire, roasted marshmallows melting into confessions. Mia admitted her own prejudices, the internalized biphobia that strained her last relationship. "Thought bi folks couldn't commit," she shared, voice cracking. "Hurt someone I loved because of it." Theo followed, raw about gender fluidity's isolation. "Family calls it a phase. Feels like erasure." Alex went last, voice steady over crackling flames. "I prejudged myself most. Thought I didn't deserve this, after Ethan. But Jordan, you showed me I do." Tears glistened, reflected in firelight, and I kissed him then, salt and smoke mingling, the group erupting in cheers that drowned the tide. Return to the city brought highs. My Harlem project launched to acclaim, Alex's portfolio landing a major spread in a national mag. But conflict brewed anew when Mark called. Not vitriol, but an olive branch. "Mom's asking for you." "Thanksgiving?" "Neutral ground, Chicago." Alex hesitated, green eyes stormy. "Last time, he cornered me. Said you'd turn me straight, or some crap." Laughter bubbled through tension, but resolve hardened. "We go? Show them we're unbreakable." The flight to O'Hare was turbulent, mirroring moods. Chicago's wind whipped us from the airport to a modest hotel, where Mark waited in the lobby, stiff in a suit, but smiled genuine. Dinner was at a family-style Italian spot, neutral as promised, but undercurrents swirled. His mom, visiting from Seattle, enveloped Alex in a hug that lingered, her eyes appraising me warmly. "The one who stayed," she whispered. Mark was civil, probing gently. "Photography treating you well?" But as wine flowed, Barb slipped. "Heard about that diner thing. World's rough, why invite more?" Alex bristled, fork clattering. "Because hiding's worse. Jordan taught me that." The table tensed, prejudices bubbling like pasta sauce. I jumped in, voice even. "Rough for everyone, Mark. But love? It levels the field." His mom nodded, tears welling. "He's right, son. I lost years fighting this." Mark deflated, apologies stumbling out. I projected my fears. "Dad's ghost, church crap. Sorry." It wasn't absolution overnight, but a fracture mended, family threads re-knitting loosely. Back in New York, lighter, we dove into holidays. Mia's Hanukkah bash blending lax with queer carols, Theo's solstice ritual invoking ancestors with incense and intention. Yet the deepest surprise awaited in December, snow dusting the city like powdered sugar on wounds. Alex vanished, not dramatically, but for a day, leaving a note. "Trust the blackout magic." Back by dusk, panic flickered, old fears rising, but I breathed through, sketching by the window as flurries danced. He returned at twilight, cheeks flushed from cold, carrying a box wrapped in newsprint. Inside, a custom camera strap, embroidered with our subway coordinates, and a book of his prints. Our story in images, from that first rooftop glance to Fire Island embraces. "No more ghosts," he said, pulling me close. "Just us, building forward." Tears blurred the pages, joy cresting. In that moment, amid twinkling lights and tender words, I knew the drama of us wasn't ending. It was evolving, a testament to love's tenacity against all odds. The new year dawned crisp and unforgiving. Resolutions whispered over champagne flutes at a rooftop party where the skyline glittered like a promise half-kept. Alex and I clinked glasses, his green eyes reflecting fireworks that burst in kaleidoscopic defiance of winter's grip. "To eclipses conquered," he toasted, lips brushing mine in a kiss that tasted of possibility. But as confetti rained, a shadow detached from the crowd. Rory, the colleague from that fateful Soho bash, his blonde hair catching the strobe lights like a halo of trouble. He approached with easy charm, clapping Alex on the back. "Rivera, heard about the mag spread, killing it." Hugs exchanged, but his gaze lingered on me, appraising. "Jordan, right? We've met." The air thickened, memories of that jealous spark resurfacing. Conversation flowed superficially, shoots, exhibits, but Rory's hand grazed Alex's arm too long, a casual intimacy that set my teeth on edge. Later, in the cab home, words escaped before I could cage them. "Old friend, huh?" Felt more like unfinished business. Alex sighed, city lights streaking his face. "Rory's just Rory, flirty with everyone. Means nothing." But doubt, that insidious weed, took root, watered by every evasion I'd ever swallowed. Mia caught wind days later, over brunch at a vegan spot in Williamsburg, her fork spearing tofu like it owed her answers. Rory's got a rep, chases anything with a pulse. If Alex is entertaining that. Theo, buttering toast with deliberate slowness, added. "Or maybe it's projection, Jordy. Your blackout hero complex making mountains from molehills." Their bluntness stung, but truth often does, forcing me to confront the mirror. Was I the one vanishing into insecurity? I confronted Alex that evening, over pizza in my apartment, the scent of basil clashing with tension. "Be straight with me. Rory, is there history?" He set down his slice, sauce staining fingers like blood from a fresh cut. "One night, years ago. Drunk, stupid. Over before it started. Why does it matter now?" "Because patterns, Alex. You vanish, you dodge, and I'm left chasing shadows." Voice cracked, the vulnerability raw. He reached across the coffee table, eyes pleading. "No patterns. Just a guy terrified of losing you. Therapy's teaching me that." We talked until the pie grew cold, unpacking the fear, mine of abandonment, his of unworthiness, until exhaustion claimed us, tangled in sheets that smelled of garlic and grace. Harmony restored, but the city conspired otherwise. My Harlem Center project hit a snag. Funding dried up, donors citing controversial themes in a state legislature gripped by conservative fervor. Deadlines loomed, stress etching lines around my eyes. Alex noticed, countering with distractions, impromptu picnics in Battery Park, where we'd feed pigeons and dream aloud about a cabin in the Catskills, away from urban grind. One such afternoon, under a sky bruised with clouds, his phone rang. Mark. Laughter followed, surprising. He's trying. Invited us to a Cubs game this summer. Progress, tentative as a first step on ice. But joy soured when a follow-up text flashed. Mom's better. Bring the boyfriend, keep it low-key. The word boyfriend landed odd, reductive, but Alex brushed it off. Baby steps. I nodded, but prejudice's echo chamber hummed. Low-key for who? Us or them? Spring's thaw brought renewal, our circle blooming with it. Mia started dating again. A soft-spoken trans woman named Lena, our therapist, serendipity's wink. Her glow infectious at group hangs. Theo landed a residency in L.A., tearful goodbyes at Penn Station blending excitement with ache. Visit soon. They hugged. And bring the drama. I live for it. Alex and I filled the void with our own adventure. A weekend in the Hudson Valley, hiking trails that wound through forests awakening in verdant fury. We camped under stars that pierced the canopy like accusations, sharing a tent where whispers wove futures. Marry me, he murmured one dawn, not with a ring but a pebble from the stream, smooth as promise. Not today, but someday. Laughter bubbled, love's elixir. Return brought collision. Rory emailed Alex a collab pitch, a photo series on queer resilience. My center is subject. Tempting, but loaded. He's professional, Alex assured, but I saw the pull, old connections tugging. Do it, but together. Compromise struck, boundaries set. Shooting day dawned muggy. The center's rec room transformed into a studio of lights and lenses. Teens posed with defiant grace, stories etched in smiles scarred by survival. Rory directed with flair, but his banter with Alex veered personal. Inside jokes from Seattle shoots, touches that lingered. Jealousy simmered, boiling over during a break when I overheard. Missed this energy. We were good together. I stormed out, heart pounding, colliding with Mia on the stoop. She dropped by with lunch. Breathe, Geordie. Confront, don't combust. Wisdom swallowed. I re-entered, pulling Alex aside. This, us, isn't a collab. If Rory's a threat. He cupped my face, fierce. He's not. You're my anchor. Rory apologized later, awkward but sincere. Misread the room. Won't happen again. The series launched to praise, images capturing souls unbroken. But the near miss scarred, prompting deeper dives in therapy. Lena challenged. Misunderstandings thrive in silence. Voice the fears, or they voice for you. We did, sessions evolving into rituals of radical honesty, weekly check-ins over coffee, no topic taboo. Summer sweltered, heat waves warping the air. We escaped to Chicago for that Cubs game. Mark's olive branch extended. Wrigley Field thrummed with cheers, ivy-clad walls a green embrace. Beers flowed, tensions eased in the roar. Mark even high-fived after a home run, his laugh genuine. Post-game, over deep dish at a corner spot, he opened up, therapy too, for me. Dad's shadow. It's long, but seeing you happy, Alex, makes me want that. Tears pricked, family mending in mozzarella strands. His mom called midway, voice crackling with pride. You're brave, boys. Both of you. The weekend ended in hugs, not handshakes, a chapter closed softly. Back home, euphoria crested, but conflict crested higher. Ethan's shadow resurfaced, not text, but in person. A mutual friend's wedding in Philly, invitation extended to Alex alone, but I tagged along, solidarity's shield. The venue was elegant, string quartet weaving romance, but Ethan cornered us at the bar, suit sharp as his smile. Alex, been too long. Eyes raked over me, dismissive. New arm candy. Alex stiffened, hand tightening on mine. Partner, Ethan. Jordan. Awkward chit-chat curdled, Ethan's barbs veiled. Still chasing lights, huh? Some things don't change. The dance floor called, but toxicity clung. Later, in our hotel room, Alex paced, fury uncoiling. He's poison. Always was. I held him, rocking gently. Then we detox. Block, ignore, choose us. Morning brought resolve. A joint message, polite but firm. Wishing you well, but space needed. Closure, bittersweet. Fall painted the city in fire, leaves mirroring inner turmoil. My center stabilized with a grant. Alex's career soared with a gallery solo show. Intimate portraits, us woven subtly throughout. Opening night buzzed, critics murmuring, but prejudice intruded. A reviewer, conservative rag, dismissing it as queer pandering. Sting smarted, but community rallied. Mia organizing a counter-event, Theo Skyping support from LA. We turned pain to power, the show selling out amid chants of solidarity. Climax brewed as winter loomed, a surprise call from Seattle. Ethan's relapse, reaching out via Mark for intervention. He named you, Alex, said you're the one who got away. Temptation tugged, savior complex flaring. I have to go, Alex decided, eyes haunted. Not to save him, but to end it for me. I nodded, fear nodding. Together? Always. The flight north was silent, resolve stealing. At the rehab center, Ethan sat diminished, eyes hollow. Sorry, he rasped. For everything. Alex spoke truths long buried. Hurt, boundaries, growth. Voice steady. Goodbye, Ethan. Heal for you. Return was cathartic, snow falling like absolution. In my apartment, overlooking blanketed streets, we made vows, not grand, but grounded. No more vanishings, he whispered. Just home. Our story, drama etched in seasons, affirmed. Love endures, not despite conflicts, but through them, unyielding, profound. Winter's grip tightened, blanketing Manhattan in a hush that amplified every heartbeat, every unspoken word. The gallery show's success lingered like a warm ember, invitations pouring in for panels and podcasts, but the reviewers' barb festered, a reminder that visibility invited venom. Alex threw himself into editing a new series. Queer elders sharing oral histories, voices gravelly with decades of defiance, while I refined the center's curriculum, weaving in modules on allyship to combat the very prejudices that sought to silence us. Our mornings ritualized, coffee brewed strong, shared over the Times crossword, his foot hooked around my ankle under the table. It was domestic bliss, the kind that sneaks up and settles, but bliss, I've learned, is just tension's prettier cousin. The first tremor came via email, innocuous at first, an invite to a fundraising gala in Midtown, black tie affair for arts patrons, Rory's name on the host committee. Go, I asked, scanning the opulent details, caviar stations, string quartets. Alex hesitated, stirring sugar absently. Could be good networking. But if it's weird, I waved it off, trust's muscle flexed. We're solid. Bring your A-game. The night arrived glittering, chandeliers dripping light, like liquid gold over tuxedoed crowds. We entered arm in arm, my rented suit fitting like borrowed confidence. Alex resplendent in midnight blue. Rory spotted us immediately, weaving through with champagne flutes. You two clean up nice, he grinned, but his eyes held that old spark, now tempered by caution. Toasts exchanged, business pitched, but as the evening wore on, Rory pulled Alex for quick shop talk, vanishing into a side salon. Minutes stretched, anxiety gnawing. I circulated, charming donors with center pitches, but glances strayed. Finally, I excused myself, threading to the room. Door ajar, voices low. That missed collaborating, Rory murmured. That energy we had. Alex's reply, firm, past tense man. Jordan's my now, everything. Relief washed, but interruption came clumsy. I pushed in, face flushed. Everything good. Awkward laughs, extraction made. But the seed of misunderstanding sprouted on route home. Cabs hum underscoring silence. What energy? I pressed, voice edged. Alex sighed, head against the window. Nothing. Flirtation, harmless. I shut it down. But harm lay in perception, doubts whisper. Was it truly shut? Bed that night was a chasm, backs turned, sleep fitful with dreams of subways and solitary falls. Dawn brought amends, his arms circling from behind as I stared at the ceiling. I hate this, us doubting. Tears pricked. Me too. But transparency, remember? Breakfast became confession. Rory's history admitted fully. A brief fling post-Ethan, ended amicably but messy with feelings. No threat, Alex vowed. You're the eclipse I orbit. Therapy that week dissected it. Lena's office a sanctuary of potted ferns and frankness. Jealousy's a signal, not a sentence, she noted. What does it signal here? For me, abandonment's echo. For him, performance's pressure. Homework assigned. Daily gratitudes, shared aloud. His, your laugh, post-argument. Mine, your hand in mine, unprompted. Spring tiptoed in, tentative blooms mirroring mending. Mia's relationship with Lena flowered publicly, their engagement announced at a picnic in McCarran Park. Rings simple, promises profound. To chosen families, we toasted, Theo beaming via video from LA, their own dating app escapades spilling into rom-com territory. Our circle's joy buoyed, but personal storms gathered. Mark visited unannounced, crashing a weeknight dinner with takeout and tentative tales. Therapy's kicking my ass, he admitted over stir-fry, vulnerability cracking his broker facade. Seeing mom happy makes me rethink the hate. Alex softened, barriers lowering, but old wounds wept. Took years to unlearn your phases. I mediated subtly, steering to common ground. Baseball, bad movies, but prejudice's residue clung. Mark's questions probed, how do you two make it work in this city? Code for the world's glare. Alex's reply, measured, by choosing each other daily. Prejudices be damned. The visit ended positively, a ballgame ticket left as parting gift, but it stirred Alex's depths. Nights followed restless, his camera idle. Feel like I'm performing, for family, friends, even us. I held him, whispering, then dropped the act. Be the guy who saved me. Raw, real. Renewal came via road trip. Philly for a queer-lit festival. Books and booths bursting with narratives that echoed ours. Panels on love in the margins ignited debates. Alex photographing fervent faces, me moderating a session on artistic allyship. Evenings dissolved into readings and dive bars. Poetry dripping with desire and defiance. There, surprise collided. Ethan, sober 6 months, attending as volunteer. No confrontation, but a nod exchanged, neutral, healing's first breath. Proud of you, he told Alex quietly. For moving on. Grace extended, chains loosened. Summer hummed electric, heat lightning forking skies. The center thrived, teens thriving under programs that armed them against bias. Workshops on self-advocacy, art therapy circles where pain transmuted to power. Alex documented it, his lens a bridge to my world. But conflict crested at the gala's echo. A donor pulled funding, citing inappropriate content after glimpsing Rory's series. Backlash stung, headlines twisting our mission into scandal. Protests erupted, small, but fierce. Mia leading chants outside City Hall, her megaphone voice a clarion. Alex and I rallied, op-eds pinned in tandem, community forums packed. This is an attack, I addressed one evening, lights hot on my face. It's erasure. We fight not for pity, but parody. Applause thundered, but exhaustion followed. Our apartment a war room of press releases and pizza boxes. Mid-crisis, Alex proposed escape. Weekend in the Berkshires, cabin rented sight unseen. Arrival brought balm, woods whispering, lake lapping at docks. We kayaked at dawn, paddles slicing silence, then hiked to a overlook where views stretched endless. There, on a boulder warmed by sun, he knelt, not with pebble this time, but words. Marry me, Jordan. Not for show, but because you're my light in every blackout. Tears blurred vistas, yes tumbling out. Joy crested, but reality intruded. Mark's call, celebratory but probing. Congrats, but church wedding. Subtext heavy. We laughed it off, but prejudice's tentacle reached. Fall gilded edges, engagement news rippling through our tribe. Mia planned a queer quince hybrid, part shower, part rager. In her loft, drag queens DJing toasts. Theo flew in, bearing custom invitations etched with subway maps. Laughter flowed, but undercurrents swirled. Family invites debated. Ethan's rehab progress shared gingerly. Climax brewed as leaves fell, a letter arriving. Anonymous, postmarked Seattle. Words venomous, pervert. He'll leave you like the last. Panic surged, old fears roaring. Alex traced it to Ethan's circle, a lapsed friend, grudge held. Confrontation via call, boundaries redrawn, but trust quaked. We leaned into therapy, Lena guiding. Surprises test, but don't define. Dates recommitted, rooftop dinners, memory lane walks. Winter whispered near, snow threatening, but our bond, forged in drama's forge, gleamed unyielding. One eve, as flakes dusted windows, Alex pulled me to dance, slow sway to vinyl jazz. No vanishings, he murmured. Just forever. In his arms, I believed, love's drama, our greatest plot twist, resolved in embrace. The engagement's afterglow faded into the practical grind of planning, wedding whispers competing with work's roar. Invites designed, minimalist, with motifs of light piercing dark, sent to our patchwork family. Mia as best woman, Theo officiant, Mark tentatively yes. Alex's solo show toured to Chicago, pulling him away for weeks. Our calls late-night lifelines laced with longing and logistics. Distance bred doubts familiar itch. A package arrived mid-tour, photos from Rory, for the book, but captions coy. Remember that night in Portland? Context innocent, a group shoot, but isolation amplified, my replies curt. Mia noticed at coffee, her engagement ring catching light like a warning. Don't let space become suspicion, Geordie. We've seen it fracture stronger. She was right. Video dates recommitted. Alex's face pixelated but earnest. Miss your sketches on the fridge, he'd say, panning his hotel room's barren counter. Return brought reunion fever, airport dash, kiss devouring separation. But jet lag unearthed irritability. Forgotten chore, misplaced key. Why pick fights? He snapped one morning, coffee spilling like accusation. Because you're gone again next week, I retorted, hurt flaring. Silence slammed, door following. Mia mediated over wine that night, her wisdom wine loosened. Engagements stir shit, fears of forever. Talk it out, not out. Reconciliation came raw, on the fire escape under city hum. Scared you'll vanish into work, I admitted. He nodded, green eyes shadowed. And I'll trap you in my chaos. Vows renewed, softer. Therapy tune-up, date nights mandatory. Spring surged, cherry blossoms carpeting paths like fallen promises. The center expanded, satellite program in Queens, my designs branding hope. Alex's tour wrapped triumphantly, a feature in the Trib highlighting his intimate gaze on queer endurance. Pride Month loomed, rainbow flags fluttering early. But prejudice prowled. Mark's RSVP arrived with caveat. Congrats, but mom's health, maybe proxy? Subtext, discomfort with spectacle. Alex called, voice steel. We're not hiding. Come or don't. Tension simmered, but his mom's video followed. Warm, wheelchair-bound, but spirited. I'll be there in spirit, loves. Proud. Summer baked, wedding date set for September, rooftop venue, that fateful Chelsea space. Planning parties ensued. Mia's input fabulous, Theo's poetic. But surprise detonated at the tasting. Caterer balking at non-traditional cake topper, our custom figurines of Subway saviors. Family-friendly, he hedged, bias veiled. Fury boiled. Alex stormed out, me trailing. In the alley, rain sudden and sheeting, we raged, at ignorance, at exhaustion. Why fight every inch? He yelled, voice breaking. I pulled him close, water streaming. Because inches make miles. And our miles worth it. Theo, arriving for pickup, turned tirade to triumph. Ditch him. Bake our own. Community rallied. Bakery owned by a trans couple. Cake layered with flavors of our firsts. Thai basil, Chardonnay zest. Victory small, but sweet. Heat peaked. Escape to Fire Island Redux. Full week. House shared with Mia/Lena. New friends orbiting. Beaches bronzed skin. Bonfires birthed belly laughs. One night, under Perseus streaking, Alex traced constellations on my chest. Remember the blackout? Thought I'd lost you before finding. Tenderness crested, bodies close but chaste, emotions the true intimacy. Return thrust us into rehearsal. Venue walkthrough, vows drafted in whispers. Mark confirmed, solo, progress. But Ethan's ghost stirred. Letters sender outed as his sponsor. Grudge from group drama. Alex confronted via letter, forgiving but final. Closure's gift, he said, sealing envelope. For us. Fall whispered warnings, leaves turning his tempers. A fight erupted over guest list. Rory invited platonically, but my no vetoed. Boundaries, I insisted. He conceded, hurt flickering. Don't want to lose friends for us. Balance struck, invite, but seated afar. Climax loomed as September neared, a storm literal and figurative. Rehearsal dinner at Mia's, laughter flowing until Mark arrived. Tense, tie crooked. Toasts turned telling. His, halting. I was wrong. About everything. You too? Inspiration. Tears collective, bridge built. Wedding eve, nerves jangled. Alex vanished. Note. Blackout ritual. Trust. Heart raced, but faith held. He returned at midnight, bearing a locket with our platform photo, grainy but golden. Saved by you always. Dawn broke golden. Ceremony atop the roof. City sprawling witness. Vows exchanged. Mine. From darkness to dawn. Your home. His. No vanishing. Eternal beside. Ring slid. Simple bands etched with coordinates. Kiss sealed. Cheers erupted. Mia whooping loudest. Reception swirled. Dancing till dawn. Cake cut amid confetti. Mark danced awkwardly with his date. Prejudices shed like old skin. Surprises peppered. Theo's poem, recited tearfully. A slideshow of our arc. Blackouts to bliss. Honeymoon hinted. Week in Seattle, facing roots. But night waned, stars winking. In bed later, spent and sated in soul, Alex murmured, drama's our genre. But happy endings canon. Love, we learned, thrives in tensions forge, unbreakable, ever-evolving. Autumn's palette deepened post-vows, the city exhaling into a rhythm that synced with our newlywed glow. Honeymoon in Seattle unfolded like therapy's coda. Walks along Pike Place, fishmongers tossing salmon as Alex recounted boyhood mischief. Ferry rides to Bainbridge, winds whipping doubts away. His mom's homecoming, ramp installed, garden blooming, brought tears, her hug fierce. My boys, whole at last. Mark joined, barbecue smoke veiling awkward graces, his toast slurred but sincere, to family redefined. Return to New York buzzed with newlywed banalities, joint bank accounts, merged closets, arguments over thermostat wars. Work surged, center's expansion to Brooklyn, Alex's book deal for the elder portraits. Evenings blurred into collaborations, me designing covers, him curating visuals, synergy sparking ideas. But marriage's mirror reflected unflattering truths. A month in, over breakfast burritos, I snapped at his late-night edit. We're hitched. Act like it. He recoiled, fork dropping. Pushing Jordan? Thought we were past scorekeeping. Silence iced. Mia summoned for brunch arbitration. Honeymoon haze fades, she counseled, Lena nodding. Now the real work. Choosing daily amid mundane. Theo, visiting from L.A. with tales of gallery gigs, added levity. Marriage is improv. Yes, and to each other's chaos. Laughter thawed, date night decreed. Comedy club, bellies aching from punchlines that poked our pretensions. Winter crept, holidays hybrid. Christmas with Mark in Chicago, Hanukkah redux at Mia's. Snow blanketed Wrigley, sledding silly, prejudices powering down like faulty strings. But surprise ambushed. Ethan's relapse news, via group chat. Mutuals concerned. Alex tensed, old savior stirring. Should I? No, I said gently. Your yes is us. He nodded, boundaries blessing. Spring rekindled, Center's gala a triumph. Teens performing spoken word, donors awed. Alex emceed, green eyes gleaming. Post-event, in alley hush, he proposed sequel. Our story, documented. Podcast. Excitement ignited, mics procured, episodes raw, blackout retold, prejudices unpacked. Recording unearthed depths, my dad's silence, a letter sent unanswered. Alex's brotherly bridge, fragile but firm. Listeners resonated, shares surging, community stitching tighter. Summer sulked humid, but we thrived. Beach weekends, bonfires birthing babies talk, tentative. Someday, we agreed, surrogacy sketches doodled. Fall's harvest brought harvest of hurt. Anonymous threat to the center, shut down the agenda, bias bold. Police involved, but fear fermented. Mia rallied protests, Theo's art auctioned for security. Alex and I fortified, walks weaponized into vigilance. Climax quieted in crisis. My collapse, stress shattered, panic attack mid-meeting, world blacking out anew. Alex there, hand anchoring. I've got you. Hospital hush, friends flooding, truths tumbling. Burnout's toll, prejudices internalized as perfectionism. Recovery reframed, sabbatical shared, therapy tandem. Vulnerability strength, Lena affirmed. We leaned in. Yoga mornings, therapy journals swapped. Winter warmed with wonder. Podcast Emmy nod. Center's resilience redoubled. New Year's Eve, rooftop redux, his arm around me. From vanish to vow. Our plot, perfected. Drama endured, but so did we, love's protagonists, ever rising.